brought to you by Gamivo.com. Get the cheapest game time on the market, as well as other Warcraft products. Check out the link in the description below. So, we fought Sargeras, and just before he was about to be imprisoned, he decided to impale a massive sword into Silithus. This was prior to the battle for Azeroth, and now we're going into the Shadowlands, yet this gigantic sword is still in there. So, what is the future of the blade, and what will happen to Azeroth? Let's look into why Sargeras stabbed Azeroth in the first place and what were the immediate and the subsequent effects. Many interesting theories are going around with him having some hidden plan, secret agenda that we're yet to find out, but the most likely one is that he knew the Legion was entirely collapsing and was about to fail, so he decided as a last-ditch effort to cause as much damage as he possibly could. You can see Sargeras being pulled away in the cinematic as he was doing his thing. He probably wanted to cause even more chaos than he did by further plunging the blade, and he definitely could, as he did split planets in half in the past. What the point of all that was is literally the essence of the Burning Legion itself, to destroy the World Soul so that neither the Titans could use it for order nor the Void Lords for chaos. I don't think there was a specific reason why it was Silithus in particular. The actual gameplay reason was that it was one of the least utilized zones, but lore-wise he either just stabbed randomly, or this was some sort of a weak spot. This makes sense as the Titan Vault, the Chamber of Hearts, is here, where you can communicate with the World Soul, and the Titan Watcher Arcadas probably created it here for a reason, and not literally anywhere else on Azeroth. The immediate effect was a massive bleeding wound that almost killed Azeroth. The last serious injury we had to this was the Well of Eternity, and when that was destroyed, the entire planet fell apart. So this just goes to show how potent the blood can be and how dangerous any damage to the World Soul actually is. As the plunging of the sword happened, we got there to mine and to utilize Azeroth for war, but ultimately we came to the realization that the world is about to die, so we managed to heal and close the wound, getting our Nascent Titan back into shape. Now, someone on Reddit created this image where you can see just how deep the wound actually is, and it is absolutely insane when you examine it, almost halfway through the center of Azeroth. Now, in-game, this destroyed Silithus almost entirely, and we have this gigantic sword inside, but this was an incredibly unrealistic scenario. If we base it on Earth, where a meteor destroyed the majority of life, a sword this size and diameter being plunged so deep at insane speed with momentum that Sargeras had would have realistically caused something akin to at least the Cataclysm, if not the Sundering. It would have no doubt destroyed the surrounding zones entirely, caused earthquakes, and just made the entire planet inhospitable. Well, this is a fantasy universe, so despite the very serious damage to the World Soul, Azeroth wasn't really changed structurally in any significant manner. So far, if we base it on expansion length, the sword has most likely been there for around a year or two. We definitely cauterized the wound thus far, but the weapon is still there. Are we just going to go into the Shadowlands and leave this gigantic sword hanging around, literally almost reaching the top of the world? Unfortunately, yes, and there are quite a few major problems with that. First is that the sword is literally ginormous. Like, who do we have on this planet that could pull this massive thing out? The only way I see mortals getting rid of this is through some sort of magic, possibly bombing it or casting spells to either shrink it or to destroy it into pieces, which could make it easier. Although, as until recently both factions were at each other's throats entirely, I don't see us organizing a united force to be able to accomplish this massive task. Second is the fact that pulling out the blade would most likely leave a gaping hole and would reopen the wound, making it much harder to close it the second time. We drained the bad stuff that contained Azeroth, so now it is sort of just standing there, sort of holding the wound in place. We don't have the capability to get this thing out, and at the same time we're scared to even attempt to do so, as it could literally destroy the planet. So here are the scenarios that I see happening, and all of them really tie in with the Void, as honestly during and after the Shadowlands, I really expect us to see the Void Lords and to finally fight this biggest evil in the Warcraft universe. During Shadowlands, we might get a hint of the Void, but the expansion after is most likely going to be Void related. One theory is that something happens with Sargeras, as remember he is still alive and just imprisoned and being held by Illidan, and that story really doesn't seem to be over. Maybe he breaks free or he gets purified, and as obviously he has gone way too deep for a redemption story, he could retake the sword, possibly infused with Azeroth's power, and he does like a kamikaze attack on the Void Lords. Now, a second theory is that Azeroth will finally awaken. I feel like things are hinting at this, as the World Soul is one of the most powerful titans in the entire universe, which is why literally everyone from the entire cosmos is constantly trying to attack us and invade us. So the Titan awakens, grabs the sword, and empowers it in our final battle against the Void. This could be like the ultimate cinematic, and in my opinion, the finale of the Warcraft storyline, where all the major threats have been dealt with, and Azeroth has finally been awoken. Another scenario is that the Void could use it as some sort of a conduit, maybe infusing it with the Void powers and corrupting our World Soul through it, or furthermore, there might even be a Void Lord manifesting himself in the material plane and then utilizing the sword against us in some sort of a gigantic final battle. Or Blizzard could just entirely forget about it and the sword is just going to remain inside Silithus for the next 10 years. Thank you for watching. Check out what is the purpose of the Demon Hunters after Legion, and check out my second channel on real world history and science. See you next time.